ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down 10 industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Thursday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys here today. I'm going to bring him up in a second. I do just have a couple of quick announcements. We did drop our weekly newsletter yesterday, you guys. Every single Wednesday, it comes out. Again, it's all freight related. I'm not trying to be a life coach or anything like that. I just love this industry, and we want to put out some actionable insights for you guys to use. We talk about fuel, rates, all of that stuff out there. So check it out. If you want to get in on it, though, I need you to go to thefreightcoach.com to auto register for it. I don't sell out your email address if I have you in my contact list, because I want you to want to get that newsletter. Again, once a week, every single Wednesday. But today, I had to bring this guy back on. I met him in person at IANA. I interviewed him at IANA earlier this year, and we didn't have enough time, because one thing that they're building and have built at their company is I loved it. I saw the product, and I'm just looking forward to continuing to break this topic down. So I have Mr. Curtis Spencer back on the show. So Curtis, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
You bet. Thanks, Chris.
No, man, I'm looking forward to it, Curtis. Like, I mean, we didn't have enough time at IANA. You guys are, out there, you're busy making that show work. So, dude, how's it been? It's been a couple of months, man. How's everything going?
It's been fantastic. That was a killer show. We call it a target-rich environment. You have a lot of people that make decisions that are in the transportation industry that are there. They're all searching for the same thing. They want reliable, actionable intel on where is my box.
Yeah.
Everybody's asking, where is my box? And can you secure my box? Whether it be a trailer or a container, even chassis are getting stolen at a remarkable level. And so the chassis industry has now really embraced the entire secure track and trace environment.
Yeah. I think that, we're at a very unique time with where a lot of things are in regards to strategic theft, because it's just getting more and more elusive in how people are able to do it. And, and I think, like, we have to become more and more aware of how obvious is it that something is a tracking device, right? Because it's like, I think that we put out stuff and then people think that there's no adaption on the criminal element side of things. Like, they're constantly looking for stuff like that. And one of the things that I loved after we had our interview and I went out down to your guys' booth, I mean, dude, that fits right in, like, you can literally have
covert. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it really isn't. Like, what was one of the big driving forces behind that design decision, Curtis, to ensure that it was covert?
Well, there's three things you learn in transportation, especially having to do with theft. The first one is the bad guy, like you said, he's getting smarter and smarter all the time. He's trying to stay a couple steps ahead of all of us in the industry trying to secure freight. The second thing is that apart from where you and I live, when we live in a house, we put out that sign that says ADT, protected by ADT, because we want the criminal going to the next guy's house. On freight, that's like a bullseye.
Yeah.
If I put a big brick on the back of the door of the trailer or the door of the container, I'm basically telling somebody that's a really, really good chance to hit something worthwhile. And then the third thing is freight needs to be blended in so that it is not chosen to be hit on a random basis. And that's why we developed our units to be covert, both on the container and on the trailer.
Yeah, it's earlier this week I was out in Austin, Texas. My friends over at the NMFTA, they had their annual cybersecurity conference. And it's one of those events, Curtis, that you go in there and if you're like, if you're a little nervous about stuff, like go and sit in a room with cyber professionals and you
Oh my
realize
God,
how compromised a lot of stuff is and how compromised a lot of stuff can be out there. And it's like, the way that it is now is I mean, it's essentially cyber criminals are able to infiltrate into a ton of stuff out there, and they only need access into one thing. And then they can go 7, 8, 9 layers deep of your technology, depending on the third-party providers that you're using and their security systems that they even have in place.
Yeah, you're exactly right. If you remember that, it was on 60 Minutes where the tequila was stolen in Mexico, or actually it was stolen after it crossed the border.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you how that actually happened. It was a cyber evasion into the truck brokerage system that the guy that showed up there to take those trailers to a different location, he's a legitimate trucker. He had a legitimate bill of lading in his hands. He presented it, and he was able to take that load to a completely different destination. Now, that cyber attack that created that hole and that ability to spoof that bill of lading, that's going to keep happening. We've got to protect those brokerage software management systems so they can't be spoofed. That's a whole nother topic. Had that trailer been equipped with a Bloodhound tracking device, it would immediately have known, hey, you're not going here, you're going over here. And it would have alerted the user that, hey, something's going on with that. And then because we have the security feature, if you open that door, your picture gets taken. That security feature is going to be not only telling you when and where it got breached, it's also going to be proof of the breach. When you have proof, then you as the user can send that to law enforcement, and boom, you got your product back as fast as you can get it.
No, and that, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that has been going on in this industry for a long time with how strategic theft has been going on. And, and I think that people are unaware, Curtis, of how organized it actually is, right? I think that
they are. There's gangs. It's global gangs. No, they're working out of Romania and Lithuania and the Kremlin and everywhere else because they know they can do it through hacking.
Yeah,
it's the hacking process. It's the phishing process. We have double redundant protections at our company, and every single email that comes through gets double checked because you don't click on anything. I don't care if it looks like a DocuSign from your number one customer that you're ready to get a PO from. Double check it all.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that with where this is, so like, what was it about like the camera aspect of it? Because you brought that up, like, hey, if you open the doors, like, what was that feature? Why was that added into there, right? Because I think when most people think tracking, Curtis, they're like, oh, it's just the location update.
Exactly.
You can see exactly where that container is or that chassis is at any given moment.
Chris, I'm going to tell you something. When we started out building this thing, we had 3 tenets: covert, inexpensive, and it has to have a security feature that beats anything on the market. Nothing has ever been on the market that does what we do in a self-contained unit. Nothing. And so it had to be covert for the very reasons we've just talked about, but it also had to have that security feature. The other thing we added was a very unique tamper switch that screams when and where it got removed and takes the picture at the same time. So normally it's a light sensor that turns the camera on, but we also added it to the tamper. So if you try to remove our units, which is very difficult to do, by the way, because they have 700 pounds of force with those magnets. If you try to remove them, the tamper switch goes off and it screams, here am I, and takes a picture. We actually caught a guy in Mexico.
Oh, really?
We caught a guy on a trial. Yeah. Taking the unit off, and it took pictures of him walking the unit to an office, able to tell the customer recovered the units. End of story. Yeah.
So like, do you think that, because I think that there's got to be something out there that lets people know that there's additional trackers on these trailers, right? That are out there. And like, how do you like what, like the security features that you're talking about, like, why do you think some companies don't go that far with it though, right? Is it a cost perspective that prohibits people from
It absolutely is, and we patented all of this so that we're protected. But the key has been that, for a while, everybody just wanted to know, give me cell GPS. Just give me cell GPS.
Yeah.
So it wasn't available in certain areas of the country. It wasn't available in certain foreign countries. It wasn't available on the ship. And so that was sort of like the minimum requirement. Just give me some cell GPS knowledge of my unit.
Mm-hmm.
Had nothing to do with security. Also had nothing to do with the sensor suite that we also have inside: temperature, humidity, CO2, voluntary organic compounds, and shock. This has become a huge feature that we developed from the beginning. Because, Chris, damage has now become a huge issue along with theft.
Mm-hmm.
When did it happen? Was it on the intermodal train? Did it hit higher than 10 Gs? What happened and when did it happen? Because because damage and the insurance related to that has to be determined and isolated so that the right party is responsible.
No, I mean, I talk to carriers frequently who have dealt with that exact situation.
And it's bad.
No, 100%. I know personally of shipments that I was working on early on in my career as a broker,
right?
Food shipments as well. So anybody who's ever moved a food shipment
before
knows that they are not going to put one piece of product on that trailer if there is any visible damage, that were like halfway loaded, and then all of a sudden the loader ripped the sidewall of the trailer out and then tried to blame the driver and say that that was there, and then they rejected the product. And then the carrier's not going to file an insurance claim for that. They're going to pay for that out of pocket because then their insurance premiums go through the roof. Yep. And it's an onslaught, right? Like there is the amount of asset owners in this country in regards to chassis, trailers, all of that stuff, containers, you name it. They just have a massive target on their back for theft, for damage. Not saying that there is never a situation where they cause the damage, but like, again, I've mentioned this on the show a few times. Most of these drivers are guilty until proven innocent, right? And it's a very unfortunate situation with where we are with a lot of stuff.
It really is. And you know what? The railroads are getting blamed as well. We're doing a couple of trials with the large railroads, and it's all about that shock sensor. And can you then tell me how the shock happened? And so our units can do that. And it's a very important piece of the insurance play, because like you said, they're guilty until proven innocent, and the other thing, I go back to that tequila case, that trucker, he showed up with a bill of lading that was legit. And he's innocent in this whole thing. He went onto a load board, found a load that wanted to go from Laredo to LA, and he picked it up. He wasn't doing anything wrong. But you're right. The trucker ends up getting blamed more and more and more. And if you have a combination unit, that's what I want to keep on bringing home about us. We developed this as a combination unit to check for the sensing of the temperature, humidity, and shock, to check for the breach, to be accurate. We have cell and SATCOM and an IoT mesh. We have 3 comm pathways. So if one fails, the other one picks up. If that one fails, the third one picks up.
Yeah.
So in the global environment where you have all these multiple custody transfers of your product, Asia all the way to, let's say, Chicago, I mean, that goes through how many hands? That may go through 22 hands in 22 separate companies who were all, quote, insured and responsible at the time, right?
No, absolutely. And so speaking of that, if you have three different methods, what powers all of these units, Curtis? Is it solar? Is it battery? What keeps
battery? It's battery, and the outside unit has some solar on it. But let me tell you what, we've been in business now 3 years. At least 9 months of that time, our entire engineering crew, which basically came from the military, prime contractors, and NASA. Now think about NASA having to deal with battery power.
Right. Yeah.
These guys wrote the book on it. And so we have taken that battery, that unit of each watt, each volt, each amp that's required, and just shimmied it down to the absolute bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So in doing that, we also store and forward the information. Our ping rate, we had a competitor come and talk to us, and I said, well, how are you getting 10-year battery life? He said, we ping once a day. Once a day? On the ocean, maybe.
Yeah.
But once a day in a truck life, that's the entire shipment. That's
Yeah.
the entire 350, miles. So we ping every 3 hours normally, and it's set by the customer. Oh, I want 30 minutes. I want 15 minutes. We set it for whatever the customer wants.
Mm-hmm.
Over the air, not having to take a unit and, retool it. So yeah, that ping rate is huge, but we got that battery life down to, an absolute minimum. It's absolute minimum.
So how does that affect battery life, though? If you're out there and you say you have it naturally at every 3 hours, what's the average battery life cycle of that? And if you want to drop it down to, say, 30 minutes or something like that, how does that affect it? And how often would the customer have to replace that?
So we set it at 3.5 years at 15 minutes.
Okay.
And 5 years at, an hour ping. But here's the deal. In our service agreement, if the battery goes bad, we send you a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, your phone goes bad, send it in, get a new one the next day.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what our service level agreement shows.
Okay.
So we take care of that. We put that on us. The customer shouldn't have to worry about a battery going out or being, and it's literally a swap. Send us the bad one, we'll send you the new one.
Okay. So with that being said, obviously there's a lot of data that comes out of this, right? Whether it's 15 minutes, hour, every 3 hours. How is that data being stored? How is it being sent out? How does your customer actually access that to put that off to their customer, the manufacturer, shipper, and stuff like that?
Right. So we have two methodologies, both which are encrypted.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, all that data that you would see on our dashboard, our user interface, is completely encrypted. It's bank level, IRS level encryption.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, we use the cloud, a data center in the cloud, so that our information is kept completely secure. And the third thing is that if you say, I don't want another dashboard, and a lot of people don't, they got a good TMS system that's adding a lot of other information, bill of lading information, customer consignee information. We just provide you the data through an API. That API is also completely encrypted.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the option and the flexibility to provide you with a dashboard or provide you with an API, and all you get is the data, and it spills right into your TMS.
And then is there a way to take that data? Is it can you have that set, automatic updates and everything like that?
100%.
Or is this, can you turn that off? I guess is what I was trying to ask. There is if you know that there's going to be repairs on this unit, this container, for example, or this trailer and it's going to be down for 2 weeks, and you want to conserve battery life or preserve battery life with that, can you stop tracking at that time if you know where it's
already tested in the middle of the Pacific?
Okay. We had
8 containers on a vessel. They want it turned off when it went to Japan, turned back on when it hit Korea. We did it. 100%. Okay. And it does exactly what you said. It is a way to save battery. Because we've developed it for a long-term battery life, even at 15-minute pings, battery usually is not an issue, especially for the outside units that have the solar backup.
Yeah. And so with that being said, though, your ability to start that and stop that, in the event something does happen, the load gets compromised, and say it was set at a 3 hour or a 5, whatever that looks like, can you drop it up to real-time tracking or every 15-minute pings to be able to get law enforcement on their tail right away?
Yeah, more than that. Because yes, we can also, if the customer said, now realize that the data belongs to the customer.
Yeah.
Whether it's a trucking company, ocean carrier, railroad, whoever is the customer, that's their data.
Mm-hmm.
We don't send that to anybody but who they tell us to.
For sure.
But think of a hot spot like Chicago or Texas or LA. and you want to put a geofence on that and say, as soon as my product goes in that geofence, add these other FBI, PD, customs. You add these people in. That's customer directed to us, but it's automatic. A breach goes out, it automatically goes to those other people.
Okay. No, I think that's
killer.
No, 100%. Like that, because I look at it is a lot of people, you're talking about cell phones earlier. A lot of people rely on driver cell phones from a tracking mechanism only. ELD devices, all of that. And I'm gonna run with this here for the audience, you guys. Cell phones have been shut off numerous times. I've had that happen on my shipment. ELD devices can be disconnected and manipulated. That is what happened with the loaded tequilas, the 2 loads of tequilas that we were talking about earlier. The ELDs were hacked, you guys, and they sent them actual updates of where the truck was in Virginia when it was in Los Angeles being liquidated and sold.
100%,
right?
100%.
So these are those things where it's like, with where cargo theft is, not where it's going, not where it's been, where it is right now, you need to be able to have a physical tracker on your equipment, and especially if it's high value cargo that's out there. And I think it's not even in the high value cargo range anymore, Curtis. I think
it's in everything.
People need to start thinking like criminals. How easy would it be to liquidate a truckload of this product, whether it's cotton swab,
tires,
anything.
You talk about tires, you talk about, in Houston, we have a lot of resin manufacturing. They're put out in 55-kilo bags, stacked up on a pallet. They're stealing loads of resin. They're stealing loads of resin. It's $30,000, $40,000 in a 53. This is not, it's not like cell phones. But here's a really, really important point that you made. I want to emphasize. People have got to start thinking that a non-powered, self-contained, on the non-powered unit is the only way. You can't rely on the ELD. You can't rely on something that's got a wire that connects up to the 7-way. You can't rely on that. That's so easy to disassemble. Like you said, they spoofed the ELD. They had them go into Virginia, and nobody knew until it was too late.
No, and from my perspective, I think that with what you guys have developed here is the natural progression of where things are.
It's next gen. Yes.
And because again, to the best of my knowledge, and I'll let you answer this yourself, Curtis, you can't manipulate this unit. You cannot go in there and manipulate it like you can an ELD. It can't be just turned off like a cell phone unless you have the ability to remove 700 pounds of force to remove that from the unit.
And as soon as you do, I'm going to take your picture and I'm going to scream to the back end, hey, we've been tampered.
Yeah. And I think that's like, because to me, it's like, that's almost, I don't want to ever say something's fail proof because it's very, like there's never a but that right there can at least, if they know exactly what the perpetrator looks like, and then they can go in there, because again, how many times is, again, a legitimate carrier goes, picks up a load, they drop the trailer, it's a power only move, whatever you want to say.
Bingo.
That picture, they drop it somewhere. And again, then the equipment's gone. I just look at it it starts putting a face to a faceless crime, which is where cyber criminals are able to get into right now, because there is a physical component. But with the majority of cargo theft right now, and I could be overstating this, again, like the majority of this stuff is done by organized crime on the other side of the world. And then the legitimate carriers here in the United States of America are left holding the bag. They're the ones who are dropping this stuff if they're going to go and export it, whatever that looks like. And then they're the ones who are ultimately getting blamed for it. And it's the cyber criminals from across the world, because that's what they are, right? They are cyber criminals in our supply chain.
But there's got to be somebody in the U.S. who's unloading that cargo. Correct. There's got to be somebody in that who's fencing that cargo. There's got to be some. It all is about the cargo. And the straight up fact is that's a non-powered asset that's being broke into. Mm-hmm. That's the disconnect that so many of the competitors that we see in our marketplace yeah, they're adding this and adding that and putting in fuel economy, and those are great things to have for the cab. What are you doing for the cargo?
Mhm.
That's the key issue, and that's what we designed the entire product line to be about, is that cargo.
Yeah, I think that it's almost like as big of a push for technology, AI, and everything that's out there right now, Curtis. We almost, when it comes down to security and safety, we need stuff that's offline that people
Correct.
cannot infiltrate. And if they somehow get that, again, there's still that physical component of taking a picture, because that's all we need, right? Like we need that photo. And then
yeah.
again, I would probably argue more often than not, it's the same handful of people that are committing these crimes all across the country, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
and it's one of those things where I think that at times, Curtis, I think people are overcomplicating problems, and because it's like it seems too simple, right? Like it seems too, like there's no way that that's going to happen. But I think that that is also an advantage that people are taking is they're like, oh no, let's keep everybody focused on this. Let's almost go back to the basics of how theft and everything was done back in the day. And it's like I was when everything was going down with the tequila. And then a couple of years ago, I'll never forget this. And this is when all the light bulbs started going off in my head that in LA, when that container was popped and they just happened to know which one with all of those panels.
Exactly.
I look at it like this. Do not remove the inside job component of how much of that is still a very major part of it, right? Because all they need, like, look at it like this. All they need is that container number that your guys' product is on, and they can pop it. But here's the thing. Your guys' tracker takes a photo of the person popping the seal.
That's
all
it.
right. And that is that component that has been missing from the digital aspect of cell phone tracking, ELDs, and stuff like that, because there's no physical photo of this stuff for the most part. I'm sure somebody can listen to that.
No,
like,
and to your point a minute ago, where you were saying, hey, you can spoof, GPS can get spoofed, but when you then switch immediately to satellite, unless you're a foreign actor, a sovereign nation, you're not going to be able to spoof satellite.
Yeah.
And our satellite's Iridium. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. So, that's the reason we had the backup redundant comms, because we knew that someone somewhere is going to figure out how to, jam that signal, but they can't jam the satellite signal.
No.
Yeah. And you were right though. When you think about the combination of cyber criminals and inside job help, I mean, that's going to be 95% of it. Mm-hmm. Those two components, it's 95% of it. But as you said, however, if you have the picture of the guy opening the door, you kind of got it.
Yeah. And with the amount of people who think that you can kind of fly under the radar with this stuff, all they, again, it's like they take your photo everywhere. And if they have a photo of you popping the seal of a trailer, compromising that shipment, it's going to take them 5 seconds to get your name, age, location, and every step.
If you send that to law enforcement, the facial recognition software that they employ is it's absolutely phenomenal. The other thing is, think about this. We're really heavy in talking to Mexican trucking, U.S. trucking going down in back and forth from the border. And, customs will tell you that those guys will pop that seal, take out 4 cartons, put in 2 bags of drugs, close the door, put the seal, exactly the same seal on in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, I've taken 3 pictures in 60 seconds with Bloodhound.
Yeah.
And that is, we're working with U.S. Customs now to say, hey, if you see a Bloodhound truck going through that and it's identified as one, which we have the ability to do that, then let that truck go on, because that's a resource you don't need to spend time on. They're always dealing with resources. High risk gets all the resources. Low risk doesn't require the resources. That's what CT-PAT was built on. Yep. That's what the fast lane was built on. And so we're working with them. We've already had several demonstrations of our products with that group, DHS all the way down to CBP, to make sure that they understand, hey, with this product, you can rely on it and you don't have to worry about spending resources.
No, absolutely. Curtis, thank you so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you came back on, man. I'm really high.
Oh, this is one of my favorite podcasts. You guys got it down.
I appreciate it, man. Curtis, how does anybody reach out to you guys to find out more about what you got going on with Bloodhound?
BTDtracker.com. BTDtracker.com. Super easy.
It's as simple as that, ladies and gentlemen. Curtis, thank you so much. If you guys can't find Curtis or BTDtracker.com out there, hit me up. I'll gladly put you guys in contact with them. But that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you saw value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.